Gamer Boy here. I'm back because I'm going to make a follow-up video to the video that I made concerning this viral math problem, 8 divided by 2 times 2 plus 2. I put this problem on several forums now, and the general consensus from the sane people is that it's ambiguous, that it needs clarification before anyone can truly answer this problem. And I believe that. I solved it in my previous video for one, because there's reason to believe it's you could get 1, and there's more reason to believe that than 16 because of the way it's written. So I'm going to cover 4 points in this video where I continue on this explanation. So that being said, 1, why is this a viral problem? The answer is because it's ambiguous. It's a kink in the chain of our understanding. And there is reason to believe by some that it should be one way or the other, when in reality it is unclear. So the answer, ambiguous. The reason it's ambiguous is because we have 8 divided by 2, and there it's already not basically reduced in its reduced form, because we could always just put 4. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But in this case, we cannot tell the difference between 8 divided by 2 times 4 from 8 divided by 2 times b plus c, which would be the distributive property, where we have a times b plus c is going to equal ab plus ac. And in this case, it would take priority over division and multiplication. So this is an order of operations priority, and it's indistinguishable. So 8 divided by divided by 2 times 4, they're identical. So there's no way to know which is which case. And I'm going to explain. There's 2 scenarios that this problem could describe. So let's move on and let's do something else at this point. Let's do what's called, and I've got this written down, a literary example. So let's move to this world. We're going to go to a world where there are these people that, you know, they hyper focus on their sentences, and we're going to give a statement. So here's our statement: John and Jack are good guys. He is also good at math. So in this world where people hyper focus on their, you know, their literature and their sentence structure and their statements, there are 2 groups that have emerged. Group A, and they believe that he is John. Then there's Group B, and they believe that he is Jack. And each of these groups have a reason, a logical reason to assume that. Group A assumes that because John is listed first, and in other areas of their sentence structure, John would be the person in which would be referred to as he in the next sentence. But there's that other Group B who believes that it is Jack because he's logically the last person listed in this first sentence of our statement, and it's logical to assume that the he referred to is Jack. So they go on and on about it. Group A feels slighted for some reason, so they're not happy with that. So they go to the, I don't know, the supreme authority of sentence, I don't know, what do we want to say? A sentence law. And they make a decree. They decree. Or, well, they'll make a decision. And we're going to say that their decision is this. That, in this case, John is the he. Okay, so they made their law, their rule. And everybody in this whole entire world is confused because other sentences are messed up now. They don't understand what's going on. There's mass confusion. Then they do something unprecedented. They go to the person that wrote the statement to begin with and simply ask, who are you referring to? And they say, Jack. Uh-oh. So the supreme authority of sentence law has erred. Because when you clarify what's going on here, we've got a problem. Because all it would take is going back to the person that wrote it and asking them to give us a clear example. And then the supreme, this is my favorite part here. So, and I suck at literature. I'm a math guy, I'm a science guy, and it's sad, but you can't learn everything. At least that's my opinion. So if I make spelling errors here, I apologize. 99.96 percentile in math, 98 percentile in science, average maybe, you know, in English and literature. Hey, that's just me, and I'm, you know, that's how it is. So here we go, and then they have to issue a retraction. Yay! And that makes everybody happy because it's never wise to make a law to refer to something that's unclear, because you're making the general assumption that your rules that you developed for good math and good calculations will work on ambiguous problems, and they will not. So let's move on to a third issue here. We've got it written down. Examples. Okay, what is our math problem? What could potentially we be solving for when we get 16 or 1? Okay, 8 divided by 2 times 4. I have 8 people, divided them into 2 groups. That's 8 divided by 2, that's 4. And then I give them 4 shirts. How many do I have? 16. So that's 4 times 4 equals 16. Okay, let's move on to what if 1 was the answer? What would we be looking at here? And this is why I really believe that it's more logical to assume that 1 is the answer based on the way this is written. So 8 divided by 2 times 4. We'll do 2 plus 2, just the way it was written. To me, what I see here is a case where we expected 2 different groups of people, which would have been B and C. And 2 people, and each of those were there, but they were of the same group. So instead of having them in different groups, we had to keep them in the same group. And that was confusion to begin with. But, and in that case, so, you know, 2 people showed up and 2 more people showed up. And we thought they were in different groups, but come to find out, they're in the same group. So we lumped them together. And in this case, we had 2 of something. 2 of something we gave each of those people. And in that case, it would have totaled 8. So we'd have 8 over 8. And what are we looking for? Whoops. We want to know the ratio of the 8 that we had divided by the 2 people that we gave 4 things to. So that ratio is going to equal 1. So that's what we solved for here. And that right there is another example. And it makes sense because of the way it's written. That's why people get confused, because they're really identical. It would be so much easier though if we would have just basically done this here if 16 was in fact what we were looking for. That would have made it completely clear from the very beginning. So, moving on. What else? I wanted to continue our literary issue here. So, we go back to our sentence. Why would these people have rules? For instance, with the period, let's go back and look at this supreme authority when they're talking about Jack and John. What they are referring to here is the period. Their law was thus: if you did have if you had a subject of a sentence, and then there was a period, and then there was a subject following that, you could assume it was the subject of the first sentence. That's logical. So let's say Jack is a good guy. He is also good at math. Their law accurately described that the he, without jumping around in the sentence, could be referred to Jack. And that's a good law. And it makes sense because it makes everything there easily understood. But we did not have this clear sentence to work with. That is a reason why their logic did not work here. So, now you understand what this problem is. What is it not? It was not different 100 years ago, which is absolute ridiculous. That's nuts. That is something I would expect the Flat Earth Society to tell me. Math is math and it stays the same. If you are looking at it differently, you're nuts, because it's not going to change. Our understanding may get better, but it's only going to build on what we already have. It's not going to take something that's well understood and screw it up. And that's a problem I have with Common Core math, because the people that know math and our extremely intelligent educators have lost touch with the common everyday person and the way that they deal with math. And that's a shame, because what it's going to do is it's going to create a whole, basically, generation of people that are confused. And math can be very fun to learn if it's clear. So we're not even going to go down that path there. This is the answer. It's unclear, and all it would take is clarifying the expression. Okay, I know that bothers everybody. I love to call it equation, and I usually do that because then I'll come back and say, well, I'm bad at grammar. I know that's terrible, but don't let anybody try to convince you that the answer is 16. I don't care. I've seen some terrible, terrible things from these people. I created a forum to discuss this, and somebody shut it down. They shut it down. They would not allow a discussion if anybody had a view other than 16 as the answer. And that is terrible. And this is what it's come to. If you go to my first video, look at the comments. If you want to see something terrible, if you want to see how people react, terrible. Do not let anybody convince you that one is wrong, because it is not. And if I've explained it in this video, and I explained it in my previous video. So moving on from this, I'm going to make some great videos. I'm going to play some games. We're going to record that. It's going to be awesome. Please subscribe to my channel. And also, you will be shocked at some of the things that I have done that the experts said cannot be done. I did it, because there is two different types of intelligence. There is what I would consider to be knowledge, and that's what most people go to school to get. They go to school to become knowledgeable. But then there's that group of people that solve the problems nobody else can, and they have true intellect. And it's becoming something that's going extinct. And as educators, you need to encourage people to think and solve problems. And I'm telling you, that right there is key. So that's it. Hope you have a good one. I'm out.